Our next speaker, we're moving from NGO to the corporate world. Here is somebody who was a lecturer to start with, and today, CSK, remember CSK? Are you guys remembering CSK? Right? God saw him, knows him, and lifted him up to become a managing director of a leading energy tech company in the city of Hyderabad. He is an author of 2 books. He is somebody who's into leadership. He calls himself a leadership evangelist, right? And been certified by John C. Maxwell himself. He's somebody who's passionate about helping people become leaders that God has called them to be. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hand together for my dear friend, Kishore Borra, all the way from the city of Hyderabad.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Good morning. Greetings to you all in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. It's an honor, it's a glory. Thank God for giving this opportunity to me. Anytime when I was asked to come and speak, I want audience to leave the place with something that they can utilize and apply. For that to happen today, I want you to do 2 things. One, I want you to look for one idea from each of the speakers that you can take away and apply. Because what I know is, one idea applied well could change your life forever. The second thing that I want you to think about is, you are not here by accident. You are here by God's master plan. You are here by God's design. Think of it this way. Every single thing that you have done in your life, every single decision that you have taken till today has brought you to this very room on this very day in this very moment. In other words, what I'm trying to tell you, you are built for this moment. You are built for this moment, right? As the day progresses, what I request you is prayerfully, you step into that, take it, seize it, and make it yours. And as brother said, my name is Kishore Borra. I'm a father of 2 boys, husband to a superwoman, and a lecturer turned IT professional, currently working as managing director of an IT company in Hyderabad. And let me also tell you in the beginning, I am an imperfect but incredibly blessed child of God. I come from a farmer's family, from a small village in coastal Andhra Pradesh, in Guntur district, which is exactly 400 kilometers from here. I grew up very poor, in a humble and modest environment. Life wasn't very easy, but let me tell you, I lived with our parents, grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles. So it took a while for me to realize that I'm actually belong to a poor family, right? And as you can see that these are my grandparents. You can see my paternal grandparents and maternal grandparents. And my father was the second eldest in the family. He was the only child out of 5 who was allowed to go to school, but unfortunately he discontinued his graduation and he squandered foolishly, wasted his youth until he got married. And look at my maternal grandparents. They have given birth to 16 kids. My mother was the 16th daughter. And they could never afford to go to an hospital. As a result, 6 out of 16 only survived and the rest 10 died between the age of 2 to 5 years. And they lived 95 years and they are from Hindu background. And they loved each other so much, no wonder why they have given birth to 16 kids. And when we look at my paternal grandparents, my great-grandfather, before his, 5 to 6 years before his death, around the time of independence, he was introduced to Jesus by a British missionary. He has got so much influence on his 3 kids. He utilized the last 5 years of his lifetime to lead his people into Jesus. And these are some of the latest pictures of my mother, father, and my brother. We have a small piece of land. That's our primary source of income and sustenance. We used to live in a small house with a thatched roof and mud walls. And we do not have electricity until I attained the age of 15 years. Both my mother and father worked as daily wage laborers, right? And my mother, as you said, she came from Hindu background, but my grandmother led her to Jesus. And though she is a first-generation believer, she relied heavily on Jesus. I cannot tell you how many countless hours of prayer she has done while I witnessed her, growing up. She has provided that priceless protection of prayer to all our family members. Because of her prayers, my father got a job as a branch postmaster in our village. And my father stopped working as a daily wage laborer, but my mother continued to work as a daily wage laborer. She sponsored the education of myself and my brother. And she she is a great woman. She's a woman of great faith, will, sacrifice, and she actually helped us to become who we are today. And my father taught me and my brother the concept of humility and integrity. He taught us no matter how big we are, how well we would do in our life, he asked us to stay humble. And his definition of integrity is our words and our actions should match with each other. He taught us very early in our life that, our talk talks, our walk talks, but our walk should talk more than our talk, right? He taught us to bring that congruence between our actions and our words. And he is one of the greatest fan of me and my brother. Knowing your father is your greatest fan always gives you a special feeling, right? And my brother, he's a qualified chartered accountant, and currently is working as vice president operations in a fintech company in Hyderabad. And not only that, what I'm really proud of is he planted 2 churches. He's currently pastoring 2 churches in Hyderabad. And as I told you that, I grew up very poor, right? And we hardly had luxuries in our house. And when you look at my childhood, you would find me doing 3 things. Either you would see me herding our buffaloes because they are like second family to me for many years, or you would see me either working in our small farm or working in our neighbors' farms, or joining my mother as a daily wage laborer during my childhood. Or the third thing is, if I am not herding buffaloes or working in my farm, you would find me playing cricket with my friends in our village or taking on the neighboring village cricket teams. And going to my education, so I am a product of government education. I studied in Telugu medium schools. I learned English alphabets when I was doing 5th standard and 6th standard because I have to take up English. I have to clear English exam in 7th standard, right? And what happened was I have seen 2 people from our village going to USA after completing their BTech in computer science, and I've seen their entire family lifestyle has changed. And that's when the concept of American dream popped up in my head. I suffered, with self-doubt, not able to explain my thoughts properly during my childhood. And even in school also, 2 teachers used to maintain 1st standard to 7th standard. If it rains, there is no school. If one teacher is on leave, there is almost, half of the school is, they will be in the playground. So I actually, when this American dream popped up in my mind, I always used to pray. My mother happens to be one of the Sunday school teachers for us. I always used to pray that, I wanted to live a bigger and beautiful life, and I wanted to change the life of my parents and my, other extended family members too. Then I, moved on. I used to use bicycle to go to other schools to do my 8th standard, 9th standard, and 10th standard. Daily 7 kilometers I used to be on bicycle. And when I did my +2 education, I used to use bicycle for 15 kilometers a day. When I was doing graduation, 18 kilometers a day. What happened was my mother never allowed us to watch TV or go to a movie theater until I had the opportunity to go to a nearby town to do my +2, right? And when I went there, what I was doing after almost, when I completed my +1 and when I entered into +2, what I started doing was every single day. There are 6 movie theaters every single day. I used to go and I used to take my bicycle, go to the neighboring town, bunk the college, don't go to the college, go and watch a movie. I used to watch same movie 6 times, 7 times. I used to curse the college, the theater management for not changing the movies. That's the routine of my first part. The second part, I know every single spot where cricket is being played in the town. I used to go and play cricket. I stopped going to college. I bunked all classes. My mother had no clue. And as a result, I flunked my 12th standard, right? And it was like a crushing blow. I felt like a failure. I was not listening I was in a denial mode. I went into depression. I did not listen to my mother and father. And that's when God has sent my grandfather into my life. My grandfather started spending a lot of time with me. He is the one who taught me, do not take failure to define who you are. He told me that, you have the belief and power to be anything that you want. And he is the one who told me that everyone can improve, everything can be improved, and every day has improvement possibilities. I never looked back from there on. He helped me to start going back to church, start reading Bible. And then I did my bachelor's in electronics, and I topped the college. Then I went on to do my first master's in physics. I secured the gold medal. Later, I cleared GATE exam. I went to do MTech. in energy systems from SU University, Tirupati. Again, I got gold medal. But remember, I had this American dream, right? So what was I doing? I was always trying to, do something in computer. So when I was doing my BSc, I did diploma in computer applications. When I was doing my first master's, I did postgraduate diploma in computer applications. Though I entered into computers world because of my American dream, but the moment I started doing programming, I thought like this is the area that I really wanted to be in. I started really liking it. So you never know, God would, if you really put your heart to do something that you're really passionate about and seek God's guidance, things will move forward. And if you look at my, work life, first 4 years of my life is into teaching. The next 20 plus years is into IT field. So what happened was when I was doing my MTech in Tirupati, I started teaching Java as a part-time, job. And then when I went to Bangalore to do my MTech project work, and I started teaching Java in one of the institute, and it was year 2001. And I don't know how many of you remember, it was the Y2K boom was over, and there was a recession all over. People are not getting jobs. Having done 2 master's degrees, having, secured gold medals, I no longer wanted to be a burden to my parents, right? So then what I did was someone offered AICT skill in one of the engineering college in Bangalore. I joined as a lecturer there. And then immediately, as soon as you start getting decent money, parents obviously think about getting you married. And I got married immediately 6 months after getting my first job to my wife, who is from Hyderabad. And then I had to relocate to Hyderabad. And then I was looking for someone who would pay a decent salary in teaching field. I don't know how many of you know about Sri Chaitanya and Narayana groups, and they are the corporates, and they specialized in teaching, IIT aspirants and NEET aspirants. So I was there for 3 years teaching physics for IIT and NEET aspirants, and I used to burn my midnight oil, right? And I used to spend a lot of time. Meanwhile, my wife completed her MCA and MTech in computer science. She got a job in IT. And God used her to ignite the passion and my American dream, my IT dream again in my life. And I saw her every day, talking stories about the kind of work that she's doing at workplace. And look at me, teaching 9 hours a day, 6 days a week. And then I burned my midnight oil, because what happened was Sri Chaitanya got fooled. They thought this guy has got 2 master's degrees, gold medals, he can do well, but they didn't know I was the youngest senior lecturer in the entire state at that point in time. And I had to really struggle very, very hard to teach, not to compete with other lecturers, to compete with students. You understand what I'm saying? Right. So then I started praying, God, all my life I wanted to get into IT field. So can you please help me to get into IT field? Right. And then at the same time, I used to we go to a church called NLAG in Hyderabad, and there was an announcement about baptism. And I started praying, God, generally what we do when we seek something very passionately, we add fasting to it, right? So I started fasting and praying and asking God, can you please help me to, change my profession, because my vocal cords started giving problem. I was teaching 9 hours a day. Then I started putting conditions to God. I said, God, if you can help me to switch my profession, I will take baptism and I will follow you to the rest of my life. And within a week's time, every single day when I go to bed, someone is whispering in my ears, why don't you reverse the order? Why don't you take baptism in waters and then see what God can do with your life? I obeyed it. And if you can go and see my church records in 2004, you would hear me saying the same words standing in the baptism tub, right? And within 1 month, I started getting some job interviews, right? But I could not clear any of them, but I continued praying it. And very soon, God opened a door for me in the company where my wife was working. They needed someone who knows IT, who has got IT background, but who can also teach to their customer base across the world, right? And now, here I am teaching physics 9 hours a day. Now I have to clear an exam in C and C++. I don't know how to do that. But my wife was pushing, she's praying. And then I was in reluctant mode. Though I wanted it badly, I don't want to, relate myself as a failure. That night, God showed me a book in our house. That was a book which my wife has used to clear her MTech computer science exam in Osmania University. Trust me, when I went and read that book during the weekend, every single question in the examination has come from that very book. And I topped the written, all the people who has taken up the written test, right? And then God miraculously, see, God has got mysterious ways, right? You are in a different world. And when you feels like that's the time that you want you to bring into the other field, then, very easily, he would show you way, and when all other doors are closed, he will open a door for you. And then I got selected, and I worked for Intergraph, a company called Intergraph, for about 10 years. God has given me an opportunity to, work as a software developer, and then, lead developer, project manager, senior technical manager. By the time I was leaving that company, I was actually working as a senior manager technical, who is responsible for strategic and delivery of geospatial projects. Every single time when I look back, God has always sent someone, starting from my grandfather to some of the teachers, some of the professors, or some of the people at my workplace, who not looked at me as who I was, but who I could become with little more training, little more help, and by providing little more resources. So if you continuously pray God, and if you really value the opportunity that you have got, and you would succeed, no matter where you were put. Right? But see, look at God's sense of humor. God has given me an opportunity to go and work all through the world. I worked in New Zealand, I worked in Australia, lived and worked in Singapore, Germany, UK, Canada, but not America. I got a visa. I was supposed to fly 2 days, during the weekend, I was supposed to fly to US. And out of a lot of excitement, I started doing all the project, and I also started sending deliveries, and the project manager in US felt like, we don't really need to spend a lot of money, bring this chap here. He can do a fantastic work staying back in Hyderabad, right? And then what happened was, when I was working for that company, God always placed me with a lot of talented people, right? And my default mode was always to learn, seek from others. I'll always be looking at, what can I learn from this brother? What can I learn from this sister? How would I add value to the person who is sitting on my right? How do I add value to the person sitting on my left? I would never look for credit, but I will always try to add value to myself, add value to others. And that's my default setting for more than a decade. And then what happened? I used to report to a gentleman by name Dr. Julian Cardos, who happens to be from New Zealand from 2012 to 2014. And he resigned his job. He went to New Zealand saying that, I wanted to start something. He wanted to set up an electricity retailing company in New Zealand. And to cut the long story short, 3 months down the line, he flew back to India, and he gave me a call. He asked me to come and meet him in Taj Krishna, Hyderabad. I went to him knowing that he's up to something, and at the most he would ask me and my wife to leave our jobs, go and work with him in New Zealand. Little did they realize that he's actually wanting me to join forces with him and set up an IT company in Hyderabad. And now again, to cut the long story short, now after 9.5 years, right now we have a team of 200 plus highly talented individuals. We have built the world's best retailing and telco platform, right? We are selling electricity and gas in Australia, and we were selling, electricity, broadband, and mobile in New Zealand, right? And I am part of an executive team which is generating more than $200 million revenue year on year. I asked, God to change my job and see what He has done in my life, right? And along the process, when I realized that I'm kind of becoming a bottleneck, when I started building this company, I started realizing that I started recruiting more smarter people than me, right? Within an year or so, I recruited 40 people. And then I started realizing that it's beyond me. I was trying to do something which I am not good at, because all my life, I was focusing more on architecture, design, coding, delivery skills, but not leadership skills, connecting skills, relationship skills. And that's when I started seeking earnestly. And then again, God miraculously opened a door for me in my church. And I saw them selling a Global Leadership Summit DVDs. When I went and, purchased one of the DVD, and when I went going back from church, inserted it in my car, and I saw John Maxwell popping up on the screen and trying to tell, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. Leadership has nothing to do with titles. Leadership is not a license to do less. It's a responsibility to do more. And he started telling me that leadership is not a born talent. It's actually a skill which you can study, practice, master it. That was one of the defining revelations in my life. I always thought that you need to be a born genius. You need to born with certain gifts, traits, talents. Only then you will be able to succeed as a leader. I didn't realize that you can actually learn it, practice it, and master it. Right? Then I went all the way to USA. That's the first time God opened doors for me to US. I went to USA, got mentored and trained by John C. Maxwell. And then I came back, I read his books, I started practicing it in my organization, created wonders. Now I put all my learnings in the form of 2 books. Now I know, standing here, I can confidently tell you, I know a thing or two about how to hire right, how to train right, how to treat right, how to position right, how to pay right, right? And I'm coming to a closure. This is my joyful crew. That's my wife. We have been working together for the last 18 years for two corporates, right? She is my true accountability partner. She is the one who brings out the best in me, right? And we always enjoy the windshield time. We never bother about complain about Hyderabad traffic because we will have that quiet windshield time, right? And I don't think I would have achieved so much in my life without her support. My elder son is just completing his MBBS. He's currently doing house surgeon. My second son wanted to become a doctor too, right? And God has enabled me. He put me in a position of strategic importance. If you know Hyderabad, it is a place for close to 2,000 IT companies. More than 10 lakh people are currently working there. HYSEA stands for Hyderabad Software Enterprise Association. And it represents more than 90% of Hyderabad IT and ITES exports, both in terms of revenue and headcount. God has placed me into the managing committee not once, not twice, for the 3rd time now. And I'm trying to add value to myself and add value to the wider ecosystem, right? I don't need to teach sermons. My character, who I am, would actually, help people to get their focus onto the God that I believe in. And my last slide. So this is my strategy for achieving excellence. Remember, if you're really aspiring for a great career in corporate, remember one thing: no one pays for average. You have to be excellent in what you do, right? We all will have, uphill aspirations, downhill habits. Nothing in your personal life and professional life which is worthwhile is easy. It's all uphill. And if you ask me to say one word which is indispensable for your corporate success, I will use the word credibility without any hesitation. My definition of credibility is character and competence. Let's say that, you wanted to go to a nephrologist. You asked your friend, hey, can you suggest a good nephrologist in the city of Chennai? He says, yeah, Mr. X is a good person. He is highly talented, right? And but there's a problem. He's got a private practice. He will ask you to undergo tests when they are not needed. He will ask you to undergo surgery when it is not needed. And there are rumors that he has already stolen few kidneys from his patients. Would you be comfortable going to that doctor? Said, no. Can you give me other alternative? He said, yes, I've got one more person. Person Y, he is a believer, right? And he goes to church every single Sunday. And he do not have private practice. He will not ask you to undergo tests when they are not needed. He will not ask you to undergo surgery when it is not needed, but there is a problem. His success rate is 50%. And there are few patients who died on the surgery table. Would you be able to go to that doctor? No, right? In case of first doctor, character is 0, competence is 1, credibility is 0. In case of second one, character is 1, credibility is, competence is 0. So I encourage you to, work on both your character and competence, right? And I feel like I'm still work in progress, and God is still working with my life and helping me to unfold my potential and be a blessing to many as I work to do more, be more, and become more, and be a blessing to others. I request you to please pray for me and my family. Thank you, LeadTalks, for giving me this opportunity.
Can we hear it again for Kishore Borra? Kishore, if you could just stand here. Awesome, isn't it? I don't know how many most of you understand Tamil. நம்ம ஊர்ல என்ன சொல்வாங்க, உன் ஃபியூச்சர்ல ஒண்ணுமே இல்ல, கழுதான் பார்த்துக்க போற. But how amazing our God is, right? From looking after buffaloes to managing $200 million as a managing director. That is what our God can do. He can pick you up from the miry clay and set you on a rock to stay. Kishore, thank you for this. Really appreciate it. I'm going to request Pratik and Neeti to come over and to felicitate Kishore. Keep clapping and give God glory and appreciate this great story. It says the growth guru. The growth guru. Let's hear it for Kishore. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kishore.